wanted to talk about the book. It's called The Political Disciple, Theology of Public Life. It's not a very long book, but it's a great introduction book because I think you have helped people start where they are, where most people have started that are Christians in their understanding of politics, and you help move to a greater understanding of politics. And I don't want to give too much away, but let's start with talking about the book and a little of your story, because in some respect, this book is autobiographical in your understanding of politics and how you grew. But where did you start off when you came to Jesus? How did you understand political engagement?
Well, growing up Baptist, I became a Christian. I may have become a Christian when I was 9 or 10, but I didn't get baptized. I joined the church to get baptized. I was probably like 11. Um, but so then it was just what are you hearing from your relatives? And so I'm born in 1965, so that's when you begin to get the shift from African Americans supporting Republicans to supporting the Democratic Party. So I grew up in a house where you just assume that the Democrats who you vote for. And of course, you know, in a way like a single issue voter thing, the single issue being that composite of issues related to the flourishing of African Americans, or really just African Americans being able to participate uh, fully and without duress in the United States of America. Um, and the idea that that Democratic politicians were in support of this. Of course, it's way more complicated than that. One recognizes now, but that's who at least was giving lip service to it. So, but it develops in college, where one I'm very thankful for the campus ministry I was involved in, made some great friends. And then the 1984 election rolls around, and people are talking about voting for Republicans, and I'm wondering what universe I'm in. And so then I didn't say anything about what I thought about politics. And so what was going on really at the time was uh, vote, yeah, but how much should Christians be involved? And particularly, I mean, the bigger crisis for me was how should Christians be involved in the culture per se, of which politics is a dimension. And what I was beginning to pick up was um, you should be arm's length at best when it comes to the culture because of the potential of worldliness corrupting you. And certainly, the more that I grew in my discipleship and my desire to have a life committed to God, I mean, there were some major transformations that happened in college in that regard. It wasn't that I showed up in terms of like being a person that was, you know, running away from God. I wasn't at all. It's just turns to some big illuminations that happened that were steps of maturation that happened. And so my roots were going deeper. And while they were going deeper, and I had this desire to live this life to be completely pleasing to God, well, what did that mean when you're the guy in the Bible study who's listening to Iron Maiden? Well, I mean, it meant that people thought that you were like the person that was in danger of being too worldly. And
Mhm.
so the conversations around that created this sense where, on the one hand, I had an intuition that Christians could participate in all of public life, politics, culture, etc. But there was like, no, don't get too involved.
Hmm.
And so I had an intuition that that wasn't quite right. But it wasn't until really I was in seminary and reading Kuyper where I got the theological lenses, the theological conceptuality and language to articulate why it was possible for Christians to, and proper for Christians to be publicly engaged. And of course, open parenthesis, I mean, something I was taking for granted then was assuming you're in a place where you can be involved in politics, where you can be culturally formative. Because Christians, not everywhere in the world is that true of